Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Knights at the Alternate Table. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about what if France managed to conquer Mexico, making the Second Mexican Empire. Well, first off, thank you guys so much for all your support with all the subscribers I've gained recently. It's just nice to know that someone's hearing me out in this world. So thank you guys for that. Without further ado, let's start the video. So, with France, under the leadership of Napoleon III, would prepare to conquer Mexico, trying to put in a Habsburg on the Mexican throne to try and make a puppet state. The US, embroiled with a civil war, would not see much they could do about it at this time. So, France would need to commit more troops and would have to crush Mexican spirit, is how they would have to win this war. 1861, and the map looks like this, with the Civil War still going on, Cuba still controlling a lot of colonies from Spain, and Paraguay still under Colombian control. Mexico, after a bunch of different government reforms, will now be under invasion by France and Britain, though the French being the main leaders of this. The French invasion initially looked like this. How France would manage to win is by keeping garrisons instead of allowing small pockets of Mexican resistance to rise up. This would lead to more Mexican resistance. So, by crushing it and doing Russian tactics such as burning anything you come across, the Mexican people would lose heart in the territories that France would conquer. Much as in our timeline, France would continuously try to move its main army up to Mexico, but not in our timeline. Mexico also gets demoralized with the more and more French tactics of just destroying everything without leaving anything left. The Mexican people would try and revolt against France and take them out, seeing them as an invader, but France would be brutal and ruthless. France, much as in our timeline, would manage to take Mexico City, but would then be forced to conquer South Mexico, unlike they did in our timeline. So they're only facing a northern front, and by burning and not making sure any resources are left, the Mexican people would start to submit to France's overlordships and the Habsburg that now rules the French throne. France would continuously move up, but the leader of the resistance, seeing his people suffer, would decide not to go and keep fighting this war just to have everything destroyed with the superior French might. So, he would surrender, and France would manage to place in a puppet on the Mexican throne, right as the US was about to finish their civil war. With Mexico now effectively a French colony, the USA would be mad about France doing this. This would hurt their relationship with both Britain and France, namely France, which would affect later years to come, especially in World War I. France would start bringing back peace to Mexico and start helping them regrow, so the Mexicans would become more and more loyal to France instead of their old government. The Franco-Prussian War would go about the same, with Napoleon III getting captured, a new government forming, but Mexico would stay under French control, as the troops down there were still loyal to the France government, even though a lot of them would have to be recalled. The only thing that would change is Prussia might take a few more casualties from the new Mexican troops coming in. Much of European history would still be the same, so the map of Europe would still look like this in World War I. World War I would shortly begin, and France would constantly be calling on their Mexican allies, much as they did with their African colonies. Mexico would be forced to send more and more men, causing civil unrest in Mexico itself. 1916, and the trench warfare looks like this. With Russia about to collapse, and Britain standing strong, with France losing a lot of land in the north, with Belgium. Albania would be the last of the Balkans left independent and still fighting, and this would lead to the same conclusion in our timeline, though Germany would finally convince the USA to declare war. This would be done almost rapidly, as the USA was ready to free its people and the other governments from these colonizations that still plagued. Haiti also wanting to get back at France for their colonization and seeing this war as another way they would go, would also join and send its military. This would unite the Haitian forces. Quickly, Baja California would be separated from the rest of Mexico, with Mexican land in the north being invaded, while the Yucatan Peninsula would also be invaded. Haiti would start its campaign of Jamaica, and they would split the Bahamas. The Jamaican campaign would be absolutely brutal, but they would try and get hope and support from local resistant movements. With Mexico having most of their troops over in France fighting for the homeland, it would be left to few populations. This would mean trench warfare would not happen over in North America. The Bahamas would constantly be catched, much in World War II campaigns, and the US would follow the coast and try and free Yucatan from Mexican rule, and I'm so sorry, I am absolutely butchering that. Mexico would start losing more and more land and would start to give up hope, though Jamaica would finally fall, and the Bahamas would constantly be in a state of war. So, Belize would also start being invaded, and the Americans would call for independence for America and try and get people to go along and join them. Baja California would fall, as well as the rest of I'm so sorry, Yucatan. And meanwhile, still trench warfare would grip Mexico, as now more forces are coming in over from the west coast of Mexico to try and support the homeland. This would lead to bloody warfare, much as the type seen in Europe. America, with one last decisive push, would cut Mexico in two, with its main armies being trapped and the capital being left undefensible. Meanwhile, in Europe, with the American forces now helping Germany, quickly the Entente would break apart and Mexico would be forced to surrender with the rest of the Entente powers. This would be the end to World War I, much as the same timeline that happened in our timeline. Mexico would be divided into three parts: the Yucatan Republic, North Mexico, and South Mexico, with the US also gaining some parts of North Mexico, some parts of Baja California, some parts of the Bahamas, splitting them with Haiti, and Haiti also getting the other parts, with Belize becoming an independent republic, as well as other lands in the Americas. Europe once again would look much like this, with the Balkans becoming independent, Poland becoming independent, Austria-Hungary annexing a lot of the Balkans, with Bulgaria annexing the rest. Greece would be left alone as the king would win the civil war. France would have to pay heavy war debts, Ireland would get all of its island, and Britain would also have to pay heavy war debts as long as ceding some of its African colonies to Germany. Hey everybody, thank you guys for watching this video. It was really a blast to make. I am feeling a bit under the weather, but don't worry, I'll get over that. Uprising and nation states are cancelled for the time being, just have a lot of stuff going on and can't produce those episodes out. So, hope you guys don't need to worry about that. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys do have a good one. And I'll see you later. Goodbye! Wow, on your left is a video that I recently uploaded, and on your right is a video that YouTube thinks you would like the best. So I have no clue what they are, so I can't influence your choice. So YouTube thinks you would like it, so why don't you click on it, huh? Deal, thank you.